Starting your first playthrough of Starfield can be pretty intimidating. This game kind of feels like 3 or 4 separate games combined, and to be honest, I love it. When you're first let free to explore any of the thousands of planets, you'll be bombarded by so many resources to collect, with them all being real elements. But they had to have forgotten some, right? Right? I set out to catalog every individual element that you can find on your journey through the star systems to try and figure out just how the natural world has changed in the last 307 years. While you're exploring a planet, you can pull out your scanner and start hunting for resources. You're going to be met with a whole bunch of letters, which are atomic symbols and can be directly tied to chemical elements. Now, trying to sort through everything can be kind of hard, but luckily enough for us, some guy named Dmitry Mendeleev came up with a pretty useful way to lay everything out, all the way back in the 1860s. Periodic table. It might be bringing back some bad memories from high school chemistry, but it's going to be very useful, so we're going to have to deal with it moving forward. Now, a quick refresher on what we're going to be looking at for a bit. Every box represents an element, with their atomic symbol as that big letter, or 2. By starting all the way at the top left, you can see hydrogen, which has 1 proton. Then as you add more protons, you start to move to the right. Bump up to 2 protons, you jump over to He, which is helium. Once you reach the end of the line, you jump down, read the next row left to right, and so on. Now, this guy kind of looks a little boring right now, but we'll be prettying it up soon. The resources you find in Starfield can be broken down into 2 main types. You have the lone elements, which are just a single symbol. You're probably familiar with some examples of these, like iron, which is Fe, and aluminum, which is Al. But we also have some chemical compounds we have to take into account. These are combinations of elements, like H2O, which is water. H2O is the combination of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Since the compound exists, we can add both hydrogen and oxygen to our list. There's also one strange edge case that we'll get back to later. Now, me spending the rest of the video listing elements would not really be that fun, so I'm going to try to run through this list relatively quickly so we can start digging in and do a more in-depth analysis to our findings. Now, starting with the lone elements, we have aluminum, antimony, argon, beryllium, cesium, chlorine, cobalt, copper, dysprosium, europium, fluorine, gold, iridium, iron, lead, lithium, mercury, neodymium, neon, nickel, palladium, platinum, plutonium, silver, tantalum, titanium, tungsten, uranium, vanadium, xenon, terbium. You also come across this element Vitinium with the symbol Vy, which I don't believe actually is a real-world counterpart, so he's just going to get thrown up here. We also have helium-3, which is an isotope of helium. That means it has an atomic mass of 3, which in this case is 1 additional neutron. Now, this choice to have helium-3 being the only isotope in this game is actually incredibly important for the world of Starfield, and I plan to have a video diving into this really important detail out in the near future. So make sure to check back at a later date. But all we care about right now is that we have a helium, so we get to add more color to our happy little table. Now, we already have a pretty solid start on our element hunting adventure, but we cannot forget about the compounds, which will hopefully fill in some of those unsightly gaps. Unfortunately, a lot of the elements found in these compounds can already be seen on their own. We can really only tack on 5 more elements, with this being hydrogen and oxygen, as mentioned above with the water, as well as silicon, carbon, and nitrogen, which can be found in a couple other compounds. I did mention there was one wild card, however, and that's what this game referred to as tetrafluorides. Now, tetrafluorides is not a singular element, nor is it a compound, but it's actually a group of different compounds. With tetra coming from Latin meaning containing 4, and fluoride, it's well fluoride. So a tetrafluoride is any chemical compound composed of 4 fluoride atoms and another atom smashed together. This game never explicitly states just which tetrafluoride or group of tetrafluorides we're dealing with. So I'm just going to assume it's any and all of the tetrafluorides we know of at once. I'm going to take the same approach as we did with the other compounds and grab all of the elements we're yet to see. So without further ado, let's close out this thing. For the various lucky bachelors that will be pairing up with fluoride today, we have berkelium, boron, germanium, hafnium, krypton, magnesium, molybdenum, niobium, osmium, radon, rhenium, selenium, sulfur, tellurium, thorium, tin, zirconium. And that completes our periodic table of Starfield. Taking a step back, and it's looking pretty impressive just how much they were able to fit into this game. In fact, we don't really have to look at any element after uranium, as it can't be found in nature anyway. But we hit a bit of a snag here, as some of the elements we are finding in Starfield's nature. Now, I will admit, berkelium was part of the tetrafluoride assumption, so I can chalk that up to some possible overreaching. But plutonium is in the game, and it's all over. When I say it can't be found in nature, I'm taking a slight liberty, as you can actually find some trace amounts of plutonium around our planet today. But that's not the making of the natural world. That's our fault. The humans' fault. You see, plutonium's a human creation, and we've made a fair bit of it because it's a pretty great element for atomic bombs. A large majority, if not all, of the plutonium particles we come across floating freely around the world today are due to the testing of these nuclear weapons, as well as the detonation of the Fat Man plutonium bomb over Nagasaki at the end of the Second World War. The relative abundance of these elements in the world of Starfield has some concerning implications regarding the wars that we hear tales of as we go from city to city. Looking back to the periodic table in its final state, there are also some gaps that surprise me. Specifically on the third row, we're missing sodium, which is Na, magnesium, and phosphorus. These elements make up about 4.7% of the Earth's crust, which may not seem like a large number, but the Earth's pretty massive. These elements are also very important to the health and functioning of the human body, and their disappearance has some rough outcomes. If you're deficient in any of these three elements, you basically start to shut down. Another interesting ramification of the lack of sodium is the disappearance of sodium aspartate. Sodium ascorbate is the most bioavailable form of vitamin C, and with that gone, we're surely due to become lacking in that incredibly important vitamin. Vitamin C deficiency does have a name: scurvy. In the distant future that is Starfield, I believe we have found our destiny, and that is to become true to form space pirates. Thank you all for watching. As I said earlier, I do have another Starfield video in the works regarding Helium-3, which I think should be pretty interesting, so make sure to subscribe and stick around for that. I also have a pretty long list of Fallout videos I have planned, so I'm not fully transitioning to Starfield or anything like that. These more in-depth sciencey videos I've been putting out and plan to continue to put out take a whole lot of time to make, so a like would be appreciated, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.